What's up, everybody? It's 2018, and we're back with Value Town. I'm ChanManV, and today I'm joined by Gaara and Dr. J. What's up, or DrJikininki? I always just call you Dr. J now these days.
Just call me Dr. J. It's fine.
Dr. J kind of has a good ring to it, you know? So how are you guys doing? How's the new year been for you guys?
For me, it has been great. I mean, I just won a Challenger Cup today, so it has been 3 hours ago.
How many points is that? Fresh. I'm trying to get all this point system for 2018 down. So
it's no points. You can only get points through tour stops and ladder.
Oh,
but
right.
If you haven't been in the prelims, you can play in the Challenger Cups. And I mean, I won the second one, so I don't have to play them till March. I plan on qualifying for points anyways, but since I could play in them,
you might as well take advantage of it. Exactly. If you've got that going for you.
Exactly. It's pretty hard to be able to spend time on every single possible way to do it. So if you can nail one of them down, you're in great shape, dude. That's great to hear, man. How about you, Dr. J? What have you been doing?
I haven't been doing much. I streamed a little bit last week. Getting ready for the new season. I'm legend right now, which is good. I was getting so frustrated trying to get there. I was playing like everything. I had decent win rates across the board, but then I would experiment with something for a couple games. Like, wow, what am I doing? And get tilted. Then tomorrow I leave for PAX South for the the Hearthstone Streamer Showdown thing.
One, yeah.
It's Hearthstone Showdown, something like that. Yeah, it's gonna be.
Thanks for the Streamer Showdown plug, though, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. It's the first thing that came to my head. So yeah, I leave for that tomorrow, and then of course Worlds is next week. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, so I will see you hopefully in Worlds, at least the days before. I'm actually going to Amsterdam. So this is the weirdest thing. I'm going to Amsterdam, but I'm leaving right before the event starts, which is why the hell would you do that? But I'm actually meeting some guys I need to actually see over there, and they're working the event. So hopefully I'll get a chance to hang out with you at least the night before. What day you get there? But
I get there Wednesday morning.
Okay,
I think.
So maybe Wednesday night or something I can see you.
That'd be awesome, yeah.
I leave.
Have you not tried to extend your trip? I mean,
I unfortunately have to be back by the weekend. Unfortunately, so my plans were to watch it obviously at home, but yeah, so it's just gonna be weird. I'll see everybody there, and then I just won't see the event live, which it's definitely a bummer. But yeah, so a lot of things happening actually in this week. We definitely have. I'll mention Streamer Showdown a little bit later, but events. This weekend, obviously next week, and I don't even know if there's something after that. There might actually be something even the weekend after that. So Hearthstone's starting really, really fast in 2018. It's going to be exciting. But a few things that were announced today. This is the great thing about planning these, or the tough thing about planning these shows. These kind of just topics just pop up out of nowhere. Balance changes coming soon. Benbro hinting at some balance changes that are going to be coming with some type of event, and that's pretty exciting or pretty interesting, especially given that Worlds is obviously going to be happening next week, and the deck list is already in, right? What type of changes do you think? What are predictions on the type of balance changes that are going to happen?
What I find interesting is that things like balance changes keep the game fresh all the time, even without introducing new cards. Yeah. So let's say you change a few things, like you nerf Razakus Priest and you nerf Jade Druid, then the game feels so different, right? And we don't even need new cards for that. So I would really like to see some, corridor creeper changes and maybe some patches changes, because they would change the game in the most drastic way, I would say.
So these are going to come next month, so it won't affect anything this month, which, that's good. That's definitely great. And no questions about whether they're playing on whatever patch or not. But yeah, you think corridor creeper is going to be a point of interest here?
I think it needs to be. I think corridor creeper is just. I wouldn't be surprised if it got changed to something like whenever your own minions die. Minus one. I could see something like that.
Yeah.
I think corridor creeper needs to be addressed. I think psychic scream might need to be addressed, but the issue with seeing a lot of these is for the reason that a lot of these cards are rotating out. For instance, it depends on how much they care about Wild. If they really care about Wild and wanted to push it as a format in maybe the future, they would definitely need to hit something like Raza or Anduin. because Wild, I feel like, would just be dominated by that. Obviously, I'm not a Wild player, so I don't know what exactly the Wild meta is, but I imagine with Reno, with Raza, with Anduin, with Kazakis, it would just be so crazy in the Wild format. So maybe they'll address something like that. But I think typically for the Standard, they like to address the decks currently. With balance changes, they like to address the decks currently in Standard. So it'll be interesting because like the set just rotates. So like you don't need to nerf Jade because Jade won't be a thing, and then you nerf Raza Anduin, but Raza's gone and Patches is gone. So it's like, what do you nerf? Maybe Void Lord? Like I don't know.
Oh man, I hope not. I hope Void Lord doesn't get touched.
I hate that card. I hate that card.
I mean,
man.
it's obviously an integral part of Warlock right now. But I don't know. I don't mind it quite as. It doesn't feel quite as bad, even though it is creating immense value in the end. But Gaara, what do you think? What do you think is going to be?
Actually, there was like a Reddit post from today, which is very fitting to the balance changes. It's like a post of all the decks, current meta decks that will be affected by the rotation. And I think you could be nerfing the decks that will be nerfed the least. On number 1 of the list is Control Lock, and Control Lock is only, or Cube Lock is only losing Mistress of Mixtures, apparently.
It's crazy.
And you've got Beetle.
And it's like you're losing nothing important, right? And if after the rotation, the deck is like, I mean, the deck is already the strongest deck in the game, and if it gets even like newer cards that are like even more powerful, you definitely have to nerf some cards of the deck. I don't know what they would nerf. Maybe you can't really nerf Void Lord, right? How would you nerf that card? But
I mean,
maybe
you could just make it 2/1/3s, or I mean, there's ways to nerf it a bit, but I don't think it would. I don't know. I don't see Void Lord being the issue, as much.
The issue isn't necessarily Void Lord. The issue is how you can cheat Void Lord out.
Yeah.
So it's like with like Possessed Lackey and how you can build your deck to do that. I will say, however, I don't think Q Block is right now. I don't think Q Block's the strongest deck. I think it's actually it's like an okay deck on ladder for the reason that you kind of make all of your matchups decent. Like you're decent against aggro, you're decent against priest, you're decent against Jade Druid. It's like you're 50-50 across the board, which is like a decent ladder deck. I think, however, Q Block, I mean, after rotation, Q Block might be one of the strongest decks for the reason that just literally doesn't lose anything. But I think right now Q Block is not like that strong.
Well, it's like
I'm not a huge fan of it.
It's like what Gaara was saying. Like Q Block's going to be even better after the rotation because it doesn't lose anything, and all the strong decks lose stuff. So it's going to be even crazier, maybe even impressive at that point.
I think this is what will be targeted by the balance patch, right? Decks that are already strong and that lose almost no cards, right?
Yeah,
that's true.
But you brought up a good point about Wild, Dr. J, and they should nerf, or they should balance cards no matter what. Like I don't like the fact that they just are putting just any cards, whatever, in Wild, and they just don't even bother with them after that. That shouldn't be the philosophy. If a card is overpowered or whatever, it needs to be nerfed no matter where it goes. So I hope they do that. If it's Jade Idol, then it's Jade Idol. So what? What I mean? Just like go and nerf it now. Even if it's patches, just nerf it now. Because and I mean, I don't know if it's those cards, Raza particularly. Just nerf those now because they're going to be an issue in Wild. And Wild, I think it's always been a compelling, something that's kind of been on the edge of being compelling. And we just keep treating it like the trash can, basically, and that's not good. It's definitely not good.
Yeah, I just couldn't imagine after playing so much Hearthstone with all of these cards like Jade Idol and patches for them to be after they're finally about to rotate. It's been years. the pirates off the pirate ship are finally about to mutiny, and we're throwing them off board. It's like, oh, by the way. Patches now cost 3 mana, or just it's just something ridiculous.
Patches takes 2 pirates to play before it comes out.
Yeah. Patches actually doesn't even come out the deck. It's just a Stone Tusk 4 now.
Right. That'd be terrible.
Another cool stat is that currently Corridor Creeper is the most played card in Wild and Standard.
Yeah, I mean, Corridor Creeper. Yeah. So getting back to just like what we think is going to be nerfed, I'd be shocked if Corridor Creeper is not. And please don't be like, oh, let's make it 8 mana or 9 mana. No, don't do that. Like, definitely do something along the lines of, only your minions, like you were suggesting. I think that would definitely be better.
I think no matter what they do to the card, it's probably going to be unplayable. like afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be a spreading play case. I think it'll be if they put it to like 9 mana, I think it's unplayable. And then if they make it your own minions, it's most likely unplayable. Like the only utility, like the biggest thing about Quarter Creeper is it was really good in aggro mirrors for helping you just capitalize on your both minions dying and then just making a new board.
It's like a coin flip.
Yeah. But against control, it's like, all right, you clear my board. Now I play a 5/5 with another board. It's like, that's good, but it's not great.
Well, for sure, it should not be like an auto keep for anybody. Like whatever deck you play, you should not be able to keep that on the mulligan, and that be actually a reasonable play, you know, for folks. So
I like the change where it's just not permanent, so it gets reduced only the turn the minions die.
Okay.
So it still applies for both sides.
Would it still be? Would it be playable though? Like
no.
At 7, I don't think it would be playable at 7, given that.
Probably not. No.
Yeah. So I think if you make a wording change like that, you probably have to lower the cost of it. Man, if lower the cost of it, it's like getting close to being already pretty, average, right? So or we're getting pretty good already. So I don't know. I guess at a 6 mana and it's only that turn. That's pretty.
Kind of like a giant mechanic, right?
Yeah, that's
like a reverse sea giant.
Yeah.
That instead of having minions on board, like minions that died,
make
it cheaper.
Or hear me out, we can remove it from the game. That's a good nerf.
Well, you remove it from the game. You have to remove. I think you'd have to remove a lot of other mana cheat type of cards in the game, because that is a theme of this expansion.
It is.
What about the people who spent 400 dust or 800 dust to craft it?
Hey, you get full dust back.
Full dust back. It just disenchants it from everyone's collection at the same time.
Yeah. And so any other cards you can think of, like that's currently in the meta that's crazy, maybe in the new set that we could see? So like Spiteful would have been like a talk, but I don't think Spiteful's that crazy right now.
No, I'm fine with Spiteful. It's basically Psychic Stream. But the only reason I don't like Psychic Stream is for the reason that Raza Priest is so popular and it's insane in that deck. So maybe Psychic Stream, but after Raza rotates, it's like, what does Psychic Stream do anymore? It doesn't do the same thing.
I think a card that will definitely become a problem, which is not a big problem now, is Rin. Like if the meta is slow, right? If Razakus is no longer and Jade no longer, then Rin will be a huge problem. Like it just beats every other
so much though.
It beats every other control deck, and you can't do anything about it. Like you can just kill your own Rin, and then you will lose the game. Like you can't play Dead Man's Hand for your whatever just because of that reason, because that card exists.
Well,
or you always have to ban Warlock.
That doesn't always happen. I mean, you can still. I mean, there's been many like games where I still ended up with N'Zoth in my hand early and stuff like that, and I end up still somehow beating like a Rin lock. But
I mean, the Demon Lock mirror comes down to who draws Rin.
Yeah, in the mirror, sure. In the mirror, I can see that, and that's just kind of part of the territory. But I just love the type of alternate type of winning conditions you get with Rin though. So the folks that get Rin like right off the bat and they're just like powering through it just to get to the 10/10, like against a Raza Priest or something that depends on a lot of cards, right? And it's fun to see that, even just from the standpoint of events and whatnot. So I like that card, but I know what you mean. It can easily get out of hand, right? And really be
I
very
hate
bad for
when
the game.
Such cards that are that powerful have no counterplay to them. Now you can say you can just silence it, but you can just kill it yourself in the same turn you play it. And then what do you do? Like you can't counter. Like what do you do? Like what do you do? You tell me, what do you do?
You dirty rat 10/10.
Yeah,
that's what you do.
Well, you just hope they have their weapon and they just automatically play the 10/10.
You hope they forget that interaction. I forgot they were all demons on ladder the other day. And I polymorphed 2 Void Lords because I was playing Big Mage.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he played the Seals and he played the 10/10. And he's about to play Gul'dan. I was like, Gul'dan doesn't bring back anything. What's wrong with this? Like he's just playing it for tempo. And then a full board of the 6/6/5/5 10/10 came up, and I went, oh, whoops.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad nightmare right there. Well, okay. Anyways, we'll see what the changes are in store next month. Another announcement that they made today was just they revealed some of the first HCT stops for the year, which I mean, they didn't list many of them, but I guess this is the start of starting to mention some of them. So we've got a couple in Europe, a couple in America, a couple in Asia. They seem to start in February, even though the Europe one hasn't been quite announced yet. But, we can see Sydney's another stop. Copa America is going to be one of the HCT stops, which is cool. Bangkok. So, who knows in Europe where it'll be? Like, both of them for some reason are not announced yet. But I hope they come out with a calendar. Like instead of doing these blog posts, let's just have like some kind of universal calendar that we can just look at these, type of stops, and all the players can find it easily. But
yeah,
at least they're.
I like the idea of a calendar.
Yeah, at least they're starting to release the dates now, so you guys can at least start planning. It'd be like, hey, we got one next week, guys, or the week right
by
after.
the way, you're gonna need your plane ticket to Tasmania for HCT. Tasmania.
I didn't know there was anything in Tasmania except for a little.
Well, there's gonna be an HCT stop. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, some of the things that we're going to talk about today are the World Championships next week. We already talked about Amsterdam a little bit, but all the deck lists were revealed a day ago. So we're all, or we all get a chance to take a look at it, and we're going to obviously make predictions, do some analysis on just what people's lineups are and what we think, and we're about to do that. Then we'll take a look at meta trends, some of the things that have been maybe happening recently, and maybe some cool decks that kind of pop up there. See what the guys think here. Deck of the week. We've got a deck of the week. I made a video of just some changes that we're going to be making to the show, which I'll kind of get to a little bit more towards the end of the show, but still going to do deck of the week, so don't worry about it for the guys that are really enjoy that segment. And then Q&A, of course, at the end. We might mix the Q&A kind of throughout the show just because some of them apply to like Worlds and things like that. All right, so Worlds. Going to be in Amsterdam. I know a lot of people are going to be flying out really soon here, like in a day or two, or at least some of the casters. But, the players all revealed their deck lists on, I think, a Chinese site yesterday. So we've been definitely digging into it. But before we get into what they ended up picking, if you guys were going to go to Worlds and you guys were preparing for Worlds, what type of strategy would you have taken? Just trying to be objective as possible now that you've seen the decks. But if you were to have gone into it knowing what's been happening on ladder, high legend ladder, what you've seen at other events, what type of approach would you have taken? Gaara, why don't you go first?
Oh yeah, Gaara.
All right. I mean, since I pretty much prepared for a similar lineup for the Challenger Cup, I would definitely go with control decks. I would go Razakus, Priest, Demon Lock, just because they're like the strongest decks in my opinion. I think the biggest weakness of Demon Lock is Priest, and in a tournament you can ban Priest, so that's kind of awesome. But it becomes very difficult for every strategy for the last two remaining decks because they're significantly weaker than the top tier two decks.
Yeah.
So I would probably. It's gonna be tough, but I would probably go for like Rogue. But I don't know how I would take it. And I think how you take the Rogue will have a huge impact on your success on the tournament. And if you go over the list, you can see that all the Rogues are different that the people brought.
Slightly. So there's like maybe 2 or 3 cards are a tiny bit different.
Yeah, but it's when you play the deck,
it's a big deal. Yeah.
Like for example, Maz is only playing one Smash Burglar and stuff like that. It is actually a big difference when you play the deck. And the fourth deck is really something that would fit. It's actually super hard. I can't say what I would have. Probably Jade Druid, just because it's like
so heavy control and then just the Rogue basically.
Yeah, it's like cool. They're like either that or you just go for like aggro decks that attack to beat other aggro decks, or you try to target Rogue. What a lot of people are doing with the double Golakas in aggro Druid, because it's Conquest, you can target something, and I think Rogue is like the most realistic deck to target. But then, what if someone doesn't bring Rogue? Then you have like all these decks with double Golaka, and they're like dead cards if your opponent has like no Rogue. But yeah, I would definitely prefer controlled strategy. I think it fits better in line with Razakus, Priest, and Demon Lock. But some people have Razakus, Demon Lock, and 2 aggro decks, which is
there's all kinds, and we're about to see them. So I mean, even just your approach. There's definitely a few players that are taking that approach with a very control-heavy type of deck. Dr. J, how about you? Like, what would you have taken?
So I talked with a couple players about this. I talked to Purple a little bit. I talked to Ant, obviously, because Ant's my teammate. I was talking to them, trying to figure out what to do. So my first assumption is, what are other people going to be bringing? That I assumed that most people would bring the control demon lock, not necessarily Q block, but some form of control demon lock, and also Raza Priest, I would assume that maybe like 80% of the field would bring that. So although I know they're going to bring that, it's not really beneficial to me for the reason that both those decks are extremely strong. So like one of them has to get a dedicated ban. So the question is, which one do I ban comparative to what the other two decks are? Now, I would probably say that the other two decks are going to be aggro decks, because most of the good decks in Hearthstone right now are aggressive decks. If you're not playing Raza or Control Lock, for instance, there's Murloc Paladin, Aggro Druid, Tempo Rogue, the Secret kind of Mage. There's this, there's other decks floating around that are kind of control-ish. Like there's a Big Mage floating around. That's what I like to call it because Hot Me Out got me on it.
Big Mage.
Yeah, he calls it Big Mage. And there's also Jade Druid, which is kind of like a control deck. So what I would try and do is I would bring two more, I guess, more aggressive decks to try and beat out, say, those decks. So I would definitely would have gone with Tempo Rogue. I think Tempo Rogue is like one of the better decks.
It's the most versatile. Yeah, it's one of the most
versatile. It's one of the better decks. Mm-hmm. It really has a good matchup against most everything.
Yep.
So the hardest part for me was figuring out what a fourth deck would be. And I jumped back and forth from Jade Druid, Murloc Paladin, and Aggro Druid. And I think at the end of the day, it would probably be Aggro Druid for the reason that Aggro Druid is good against Rogue. So you have that matchup. Yep. Against Priest, I kind of say I sacrifice the Priest matchup in most cases because they have two really good decks. One of them is going to get a win. If I ever sneak in a win against it, it's fine, but I'm not going to try and beat it. And I think what Aggro Druid does is it provides a good matchup against the Murloc Paladins, provides a good matchup against the Tempo Rogues, and then I think it's pretty good, like it's decent against Jade Druid if they've got it heavily tech to beat Priest. So I think that's the lineup I would have ended up on, but like that fourth deck could have literally been like almost anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's pretty the exact conundrum everybody was taking. And you know, the thing with the Aggro Druid too is like you can just win games super fast and easy if you just get the right draw, right? Like in some of these matchups. So there's not a lot of decks that you can say that about. You know, maybe Rogue, but even Rogue takes a little bit of time to really develop, right? But so that's the nice thing about that. You can also whiff too, so it's a little bit of a, you know, kind of a rolling of the dice at times. But yeah, so it's really interesting to see what everybody chose. Why don't we take a look at some of what the players picked here in terms of the deck? So let me show you the decks here. Okay, so this is Ant's deck lineup. He picked Aggro Druid. And this is your, you know, obviously your teammate. So you maybe have some additional insight that we don't know. Aggro Druid, Raza Priest, Murloc Paladin, Tempo Rogue, and there's a few things that I kind of noted about his decks. And first off, his priest isn't a Raza Priest. It's actually a Spiteful Summoner Priest.
Yeah.
So that I think he was the only person that brought a Spiteful Summoner Priest.
Yes.
So really interesting decision. Any insight on this? Like,
we were talking to Ant. It was myself, Ray C, and Hot Meowth. We were all talking to Ant, trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He said that he did not feel comfortable playing Control Warlock and or Raza Priest, that he felt like he hadn't played those decks enough in order to play them optimally. And he had just recently been playing the Spiteful Summoner Priest, and he like his win rate with it was like really good, and he said it was really good, and he believed in it. So I was like, I'm a believer in both bringing the best decks, but I'm also a believer in bringing stuff you're comfortable with. Like if you're not comfortable with something, then what's the use in playing it? Like you might just screw up with it. And if he thinks this is a good deck and he's comfortable with it, like more props to him. I personally wouldn't have gone for this strategy, but I'm not going to steer him away from it because I think it's fine. The strategy for this is just ban Warlock and just aggro down the other decks.
Tempo down it, yeah, basically.
Yeah. Like you're literally good against the Priest is even good against the other aggro decks. Like so they have to like ban that. Like because if you drop it's Duckbreaker. If you drop Duckbreaker on them.
Yeah.
Then it's just game over, and Spiteful Summoner can do crazy things. So
I was farming aggro like all of the end of last season into the Legends, just with Dustbreaker after Dustbreaker. It was definitely crazy. Gaara, what do you think? What do you think of the Spiteful Summoner Priest?
I think Priest is just a strong class. It's like all the archetypes are just so strong from Priest. I think this is a completely legit deck. And what is crazy about the Spiteful Summoner Priest is that you can actually out-fatigue Control Demon Lock after they played.
It's crazy,
after they played the Zov and Gul'dan.
Yeah,
It's
it's
mind
crazy.
control, baby. Yeah, you just take
That
over
is
big
absolutely
things.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a temple aggro deck. No, it's super strong. What I'm afraid about this deck is like how good it is versus other aggressive decks, right? Because that's I think what a lot of the matches will come down to, aggro mirrors. And this is why I'm surprised that he didn't decide to bring Zoo. Also, Ant is kind of known for his Zoo.
Yeah, we actually
That's
talked
true.
about
That's
that.
true.
That was actually he wanted to bring Zoo, but we basically like he thought about it and he said the Zoo slot was where either I think it was Aggro Druid is either gonna be Aggro Druid or Zoo, and we said Aggro Druid was better for the reason that you can run Galakas and you can beat up on the other pirate running decks, and then Zulok just wasn't as strong against the other like aggro matchups that he wanted to be strong against. So that's why we went with the aggro druid over the Zulok. I think was the major reason. And the priest actually is like fine against aggro because you're running a patches engine, which is also really good. And then you have tar creepers, and on top of tar creeper, if you ever find dustbreaker or duckbreaker, like you just win. The bad thing about it is I've called duckbreakers so long, I never called it dustbreaker. So now whenever I'm in any situation, I call it duckbreaker.
Okay.
It breaks little ducks on the board.
Yeah, well, that's true. It definitely does that. The only thing I would question about just this lineup is that I feel like the uncertainty of what to ban, just we were talking about it, right? Between priest and warlock, I think it's almost a necessity to have it in your lineup, even if you're, you want them to possibly ban the wrong thing, because in this case, they're just going to ban the priest. Like, we're not going to even see this Bible Summoner priest at all, in my opinion.
You'd be surprised.
Really?
Some people might think it's not that strong and not ban it.
Oh, that's true. They know the deck. Yeah,
But
so I guess
if you look at
yeah.
like if you look at the decks, for example, like they're all super strongly tagged against control, right? Like I can see them banning any of these decks. From my experience, like I got now to Legend on 2 servers with Rasakus Priest. My worst matchup against of the aggro decks was Murloc Paladin, just because Murloc Paladin or like aggro Paladin can blow you out in 4 different ways. Like with the just empty your hand and then Divine Favor and just draw 7 cards. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you have Call of Arms, right? You just draw the nuts with Call to Arms. And you have like Gentle Mega Swarm Curve, which you can also just lose to. Like I can actually see people banning Paladin. This is probably like
it's definitely
surprised.
A strong deck. Yeah, definitely a strong deck, and it's like that and the aggro druid. They kind of function similar. Yeah. It's just Murloc Paladin has more bullets whenever they
this lineup. This lineup is also good against Jade Druid, which we thought might be popular because the priest just crushes Jade Druid.
Yeah.
The Paladin is pretty good against Jade Druid for the most part. The rogue is like I say one of the weaker ones. The weakest one is probably aggro druid, but rogue is still I think favored because we're running. There's the Cobalt Scalebanes are in it. And Cobalt Scalebane and Sonya are just really good against Jade Druid.
Yeah, talk about Sonya a little bit because that's one of the flavors of the rogue deck. Some people brought it, some people didn't. Is it one of the tools they use against like control decks so they can get like more Vile Spines out, like cheaper Viles, that sort of thing, or like what's the main utility of it?
Sonya's good against aggro and Jade Druid for the most part, just for the reason that like Jade Druid they have to leave a lot of minions on board, so you most likely capitalize on value for it. But it's really good against aggro for the reason that you just get extra deck hands, you get like there's extra cards that you would need, and as you can tell, there's 1 Elven Minstrel cut, and there's 2 Serenite Chain Gang, so it's really geared for that kind of mirror match kind of style. And I personally like Sonya. I haven't played Rogue in a while. When I was grinding to Legend, I think it was actually one of the decks I didn't play at all. Like I played Murloc Paladin, I played Jade Druid, I played Raza Priest, I played Control Warlock and Zoo. So I still think Sonya's really good, although I haven't played Rogue in a bit.
Gaara, you like Sonya?
Yeah, I think she's in the slot where you would play a Spellbreaker. And if you ban Warlock, you don't really need a Spellbreaker. You need it pretty much only for Warlock. So I think I really like how the deck is tagged. What I would have not played is if I want to beat like Druid and I know what I'm going for. I mean, if you have to beat, like, I would not play Shadow Steps and Leroy because they are like bad against other aggressive decks. It's basically only for Priest. You kind of need it for Priest because Priest is such a bad matchup. So it would, but the way how this deck is built is also very strong. It's just you have do different cuts. You cut the Minstrel, which is good, and Sonya again, as he said, it's very interesting. It's very powerful. I just never had the room for it nowadays, just because you have to play Spellbreakers, sometimes even 2 Spellbreakers. It really depends on what you ban, right?
Yeah.
And if you ban Warlock, then you can definitely play like that. It's a cool card, yeah, for sure. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes I play also Tar Creeper because I feel like I like the cards just because, again, also versus other aggressive decks, like you don't have a clean removal for it ever as an aggro deck.
Yeah, and then when you Shadow Step Prince, you get a nice large ass Tar Creeper too. In turn 3 whenever you draw it, right? So, Tar Creeper is a nice addition to it. All right, so we spent a good amount of time on Ant's deck, and I think we will like the first time we see some of these decks, but we'll start to cruise a little bit faster. Next up, we've got Doc Pone. And he's pretty much bringing a completely different lineup except for Tempo Rogue. I think Tempo Rogue was brought, I think, second most popular to Raza Priest, I believe, in terms of the stats. So you're going to see a lot of Tempo Rogue in these decks. But Doc Pone brought Q-Block, Dragon Highlander Priest, which we talk about in a second, Jade, Druid, and then Tempo Rogue. Did I say Tempo Lock? I meant Tempo Rogue. Yeah, when I was saying that, Tempo Rogue. This Dragon Highlander Priest, we've definitely seen Dragon variants, but this one's got Alex at the end of this. So, what do you guys think of that?
I don't like Dragon Highlander Priest at all. What I wanted to playtest today actually is the Druid matchup, the Jade Druid matchup. If this version is better against it, then I can totally see why.
It is.
Then that's why. Because the new Jade Druid is such a bad matchup for Razaku's Priest. Like, you need to rebuild the version to a way where you beat that matchup again.
Yeah.
And Dragons might be the way to go. So that's why. Like, it's really such a bad matchup now for Razaku's Priest. And if you expect almost everyone to bring Jade Druid, then you have to do it. I don't like the consistency of it against aggressive decks sometimes, like, because all these dragon synergy cards require you to have dragons, and oftentimes against aggro you can't play greedy, so you oftentimes just run out of cards, and the deck cuts a lot of card draw, and then you're just sometimes stuck with these like just random minions like Twilight Drake, which don't serve any purpose. So that's why I don't like the deck, but it's probably like a necessity for a tournament like this.
So I don't like the deck on ladder. I haven't played around with it too much in tournament, but it could be good in tournament for the reason that if you expect the field to bring aggro and Jade Druid, this deck is actually pretty good because I think it's actually better against aggro than the typical lists. The only thing you lose is the Wild Pyro engine, which is like sometimes bad, but you have Dustbreaker, so a lot of times you can just Dustbreaker on 4. Like your AoEs become Spirit Lash, Dustbreaker, Psychic Scream, Dragonfire. Like you have the same amount of AoEs as the other version, except for you have more bodies on board, which can contest better. So I think this version's fine for what he's going for. I definitely think Doc Pone went for... I didn't talk too much about the lineup, even though I'm good friends with him, but I definitely think he went for the strategy of bringing what he considers to be the best decks, which I'm an avid component of. He considered Q-Block, Raza Priest, Jade Druid, Tempo Rogue as the best decks, and I can't blame him. They're all really good decks. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes it far if he plays well, for the reason that this is just a strong lineup. It's just like they ban Warlock if they've got aggro, and then you've got really good matchup against aggro. Your Priest matchup is good. I mean, look, he's got Lich King in his Rogue for Priest. Like it's like he's like I think he covered his bases well.
Yeah, Lich King is that was definitely something we saw with a few Doc Pone and maybe a couple other players too, just tucking that into the Rogue. So seems to be an anti-priest thing, and he's got quite a bit of anti-priest. He's going to let priest through, right? Like he's going to want to play priest with this lineup.
He lets it through every time he bans control Warlock.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so pretty different lineup. So seen definitely both ends of the spectrum with the first two, one aggro, one more control. Frozen's up next. He's actually bringing one of the few mages that's going to be in the World Championships, and it's a control mage. I think both mages that were brought, or the mages that were brought, were the control variant. And he's got Q block, Dragon Highlander Priest too, but no Alex, nothing like that at the end. And
There's only like 4 dragons actually in that deck.
Yeah, I'm surprised because, I figured one of the reasons Docpone ran Alex was just to run some kind of relevant, dragon just to up his percentages, right? Yeah, you could totally whiff with this few dragons, right? Because his card draw is very similar to Docpone's. There's not much, right? And he's got the pyro though, so that's definitely going to help in terms of staying alive or just handling aggro. But yeah, overall, what do you guys think of this lineup?
I actually played his Jade Druid today because I thought it looked so cool.
Oh, he's got the Violet Teachers in it too, right?
Yeah, because you can open summons
so
the Violet
cool.
Teacher. You do that instead of the Iron Bark and or the Ironwood Golem, sorry, and then you just like go off with spells sometimes.
Yeah, it's just more of a proactive, aggressive type of thing.
And I also really like Mark of the Lotus in Jade Druid. It's so good with Spreading Plague. Like versus aggro, it's like the nuts. And it has great synergy with Violet Teacher. And also the Oaken Summons is a spell. So you can do really crazy stuff.
Yeah. No kidding. Like I haven't seen it in action. Have you guys actually seen him play it?
I played it today, but it's not a ladder deck because you need Spellbreakers on ladder. It's kind of frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, this deck is like really bad against Control Lock, but that's like Jade Druid in general now. Like the funny thing about it is like Control Locks are now running like Skulking Geist. So now when they Skulking Geist, they hit 6 cards out of your deck. Like it's just I've hit 6 cards with Skulking Geist before, and I'm just like, wow, that feels so bad.
Oh my god, Skulking Geist destroyed. Oh, that's crazy.
That's what it's the most frustrating for me sometimes about like these tournament decks. It's just that they're really tagged for tournament. You can't just play them on ladder.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people listening, obviously, and watch the show. That's a disclaimer, guys. Not all of these decks that you see right now will be good on the ladder. But, this is definitely event scope right now.
And also a little Bible thumb for big spell mage. Like I played so much big spell mage, I just don't think it. Like I would bring it to Worlds. I don't think it's good enough.
Just for clear, like what's it good against, so that people know, like what the matchup wise.
Okay, so I've also played it a fair bit, but I was playing Hamia's version, and Hamia's version does not run Arcane Intellect, Ice Barrier, or Ice Block. It doesn't run any of those. It runs double Meteor, double Blizzard, 1 Flame Strike, double Firelands. If Dragon's Fury, it basically runs like you never whiff on Dragon's Fury is the idea of it.
Yeah.
So what it's really good against is it's really good against Rogue. It's like really good against Rogue.
It
destroys Rogue. It destroys aggro decks in general. Murloc's Paladin's the only one that really has a chance, just because Megasaur is a card and like they can cheese wins out. Like if they buff their stuff and you don't have the AoE.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty good against Jade Druid as well. This deck actually goes like toe to toe with Jade Druid for the reason that Jade Druid went really defensive with their new cards in order to gain percentages against Priest, and cards like the Spellstone, the Branching Paths, all of those cards really do nothing against you. Spreading Plague, they do nothing against you. So all you have to do is play Skulking Geist, clear their Jade Idols, and then just kill every single one of their minions, and you win every time.
That's cool. That's definitely great. And how much does Jaina play a role in those type of games?
Jaina's just a good card. It's just solid.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next player. It's Hoy. So Hoy actually brought Aggro Druid. Okay, so Aggro Druid, Control Warlock. And just so folks don't confuse Control Warlock, it's not Cube Lock, and this is the one that doesn't have any cubes or Doom Guards or anything like that. And then Highlander Priest, a more traditional standard one, and then Murloc Paladin. So a little bit of mixture of both. He's got like the 2 aggressive decks, 2 control decks. What you guys think? You like this kind of balanced type of a strategy, or would you rather have it weighted?
I like control Demon Lock more than Cube Lock because I think it's way better versus aggro, and I think it plays the cards you need to beat like Jade, Druid, and to win the mirror. But I don't like that he's taking it so. Like, I think Dirty Red you absolutely never need in Demon Lock for any matchup except maybe Quest Mage, but you don't expect Quest Mage. It's really the only matchup. It's really bad in the mirror, and you can just lose versus aggro because of Dirty Red. Like, actually, I played semi-finals today against an unfavorable lineup, and I won 2 games because of Dirty Red, because my opponent played Dirty Red and then pulled like my biggest minion and lost.
Void Lord. Boom. Yes.
Yeah, it's I don't think
Thanks
you
for
need the card at all.
Right?
Or Serenade Chain Gang. Like, you expect your deck to always be banned by aggro decks, right? It's kind of like you will get to play it versus control decks, and I think
that's a good point.
I don't like how it's built, but I like the archetype a lot. I like the like.
I'm actually fine with the Dirty
There's
Rats.
no Rin in this one. Like, do you guys like Rin in this deck too, or no?
I like Rin.
Yeah.
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 That's the only thing I'd change. I will say though, I like the Dirty Rats for the reason that if aggro always bans this deck, no matter what it is, like even if Dirty Rats are in it, because they're not gonna not ban it because of Dirty Rats, it doesn't make sense. If aggro always bans it for Dirty Rats, then you don't have to worry about ever playing it against aggro. And the Dirty Rat is just saying like, hey, look, if they're playing either Control Warlock and they didn't ban it, well, he most likely bans Control Warlock. If I have to leave out Priest, so if I ever play against Priest, I need this card to win. Literally, if I don't have this card, I can never win. And then also, if there's something else like Quest Mage or just something obscure that would not ban his Warlock, he needs Dirty Rat.
Yeah, I forgot to mention. Like, I'm so used to always ban Priest for the rest of my life. That like Dirty Red is kind of like the only card besides Skulking Guys that you can tag versus Priest.
Yeah.
So you have to run Dirty Red.
And you pull Rise on 5. You pull it out.
Well, you play Dirty Red on the ladder, guys. So that is one card that you definitely want to play on ladder because you run into all those type of decks.
I just always think like how you would not target Priest with freaking Demon Lock. It's like such a weird thing to do.
Definitely.
It's hard, man.
All right, let's go to Jason Zhao's lineup here. Aggro Druid, Control Warlock again, Highlander Priest again, the standard one, and
no Fratu.
Rogue. Oh yeah, no Fratu in the Control Lock, which he's going for the excitement here, man. Totally for the excitement.
It's just one, just one. Just like
one, exactly.
It will pull freaking go down every time.
For the fans.
Yep, totally for the fans.
There's a Hunger Crab and Aggro Druid too, if we'd like to point that out.
Okay, yeah, that's true. It's good against Rogue, obviously.
My question, for the fans. My question here is, with these decks, does he ban Priest?
Or Warlock, yeah, it's tough.
Or Warlock, because
if you run red, probably he bans Warlock, right?
But he runs Ooze for what is he running Ooze for? Is it for the mage? Like, nobody's playing mage anymore.
Yeah.
Unless the Chinese meta has a lot of secret mages, and he might have thought that it was like across all metas. So Ooze is only really good in like the mirror, right? The Q block against Q block.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're running Ooze, you wouldn't want to ban Q block, but like you're leaving out Priest and you're I don't know.
That's a good point.
Like
That's like counterintuitive, right? Like Dirty Rat.
Just play a one-off of everything. One Tar Creeper. You're prepared.
You'll never know when you need it.
I know.
He has a flex bun, He has one Hungry Crab, one Golaka Crawler and Druid. Like he's prepared.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sometimes it's good to have all the tools so that if somebody surprises you with, I don't know, with something, you can like pull. Oh, I still got a chance because I've got these.
You'll always draw your one of, so why not just put one of everything in there?
Right.
Like, why not?
I'm hoping Gnome hits something. That's what That's the thing I'm looking forward to see.
Does he actually have the same rogue list as Ant brought? That's kind of.
Let me see. No. Ant does not have Tar Creeper.
No Tar Creeper. Yeah.
Ant has. Let me look at this.
Oh yeah, but this conclusion to bring like one.
It has a second scale bane over Tar Creeper.
Yeah, one Minstrel and Sonya.
I think what it is if you're banning the Control Warlock, then Minstrel's really bad against other aggro decks. So you're kind of just like, you're kind of saying, like, I only need one Minstrel. I can like manage my Shadow Steps and use it wisely against control decks. If it's an aggro deck, I'd rather this be a Tar Creeper. I'd rather this be a second Serenite Chain Gang. I'd rather this be something better.
Yeah,
it's enough to have one Minstrel.
Okay.
You go Kalasef into double Shadow Step into coin Minstrel every time.
Is that what happens every time? I thought it
time.
was coin. I thought it was coin Prince into Shadow Step.
That's
Prince
right.
into top deck.
Captain.
Serenite Chain Gang.
Top deck. No, top deck.
Oh.
Washburglar into 2/3/3s and then hit him in the face.
Oh,
I thought
okay.
that's.
Okay, all right. Dreams, man. I mean, those are actually realistic dreams. No,
Those are nightmares.
those are real nightmares. Okay, Kalento, K-God. All right, let's take a look at what he's bringing here. Looks like a very heavy control lineup here with Control Warlock, Highlander Priest, your standard variation, Jade Druid, and then a little bit of tempo with some Tempo Rogue here, but not Sonya and not Lich King. So his own. Something in between that, basically.
One Tar Creeper.
Yeah.
Another Kalento is a firm believer of bringing what he considers to be the best decks, so that's what he did, and I like it. I think a lot of players brought this lineup. The only flex spot was whether you brought Jade or aggro Druid. That's the only difference maker.
And yeah, he's banning Warlock as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely looks to be banning Warlock. No variances that are. Yeah, he didn't really add any variances.
I like his Warlock deck. His Warlock deck. That's greedy. It's probably the
greediest. Oh yeah, it
deck.
is super great. It's got the Stone Hills and Rin.
It has everything.
It's a cube. It's just a control block, but it has.
I think Cube Block's greedier than that, though. I think Cube Block's so greedy.
At least the ones being run with N'Zoth these days, and everything. It's crazy. This should be good. Kalento will have I think a pretty good run, and possibly a good run there. Muzzy, let's see what he's got here. All right, Muzzy.
The craziest thing is the Mark of the Wild.
Yeah, so he's got aggro Druid. So aggro Druid, Cube Block, Dragon, Highlander Priest, and Tempo Rogue. So okay, so aggro Druid.
It's free to play. I like it.
Mark of the Wild. It's free to play.
Only one captain, Mark of the Wild, Bittertide Hydra.
What did he replace it with?
It's 2000 Dust deck.
Second captain.
Okay, second captain.
Right. Dude, it's a 2000 Dust deck. Feels good, man.
Now, while we're laughing at this, can we look at this Cube Block real quick?
Yeah,
that does not play Doom Guards or Mountain Giants.
Wow, I didn't even notice that when I first looked at it. Holy smokes. Okay, so what is he? All right, yeah, so no Mountain Giant, so it's not that, but he has Faceless in it. So first off, and then there's no Doom Guard. So
I played. So all right, so Amnesiac was playing this deck on ladder, and I played into Amnesiac with it on ladder. I was playing Big Mage, so like this is probably not like a great test of what it wants to do. I essentially think what this deck wants to do is just spit out Void Lords, and like eventually you can't do anything. Like I really think that's what this deck does, because you have Faceless for Void Lord, you have Cube for Void Lord, you have Gul'dan for Void Lord, you have this off for Void Lord. It literally is just
frustrating.
It is literally just saying I'm going to play constant Void Lords until
they nerf it.
Until they nerf. No, it's just saying I'm gonna put up a wall and you're gonna have to deal with it, or these 3/9s are eventually just gonna hit you in the face enough that you lose the game.
Yeah. So just for folks that can't see or listening, he's got N'Zoth for it. He's got the Blood Reaver, of course, but he's got Faceless for it. Whenever you can cheat it out. Carnivorous Cube's always going to be used for it, and Tal'Darum's going to be used for it. So, man, we're getting like 10 Void Lords, man. It's going to be crazy. 10 Void Lords.
I played against this deck, and there were 4 Void Lords on the field that I could not deal with as a big mage with constant AoE.
This is a new archetype. Yeah. This is the Void Lord look.
It's called Void Fatigue. What do you call it?
It's called the
Wall.
Called
torture. It's called the Void Torture.
It's the Wall.
Like even Umbra.
Even Umbra. That's true.
Umbra.
You can
get more Void Lords.
Maybe get an extra 2 or maybe even more. Who knows? This actually looks like a fun deck to try out, though. I'm gonna have to give this a run on the ladder.
It's actually not bad.
Yeah.
The one Nomoferatu for the fans. That's important.
Yeah, the one Nomoferatu for the fans.
Need some showmanship, man. Totally need some showmanship.
Blizzard loves that stuff, man. You just put cards like that. You put like the 1-of tech card in your deck just for that one crazy moment where you can mill something.
And you'll be scheduled into you'll be on air like every single time.
You'll be on air every time, and then what you do is you slow roll it and you like act like you're gonna play it, and you put it back in your hand, and the crowd's going crazy. That's what happened at Summer Champs when I was there. It was Old Boy versus now Guiden. And what it was, the old boy had Dirty Rat. There were Doomsayers in his hand. He would just hover over the Dirty Rat, and everyone would be like, "Go, go, go!" And then he would put it back in his hand, like, "No, play it!" And then he would finally play it and pull the Doomsayer, and everyone was just freaking out. It was insane. That card is just like it, except for it's.
Well, that's when you can kind of hear something. So you just like, okay, if I mouse over this, do I feel any rumbles on its table? Like, that sort of thing. Yeah. All right, next up, we've got Naria. Okay, so Naria has Aggro Druid, Control Lock. Not quite as crazy as the last one we saw, but still pretty greedy there. And Highlander Priest, the standard kind. And then Tempo Rogue, so pretty standard here.
Yeah, I figured this would be the most like standard lineup. There's no, I don't see any really weird tech cards.
Well,
One Captain and Rogue though.
Well, the counterfeit coins is definitely something that we've seen.
That's the thing.
Yeah, the counterfeit coin is an interesting ad that we saw him. I think in purple too. So
instead of Swashbuckler, because they expect Golaka to be tagged from others, and that's like the #1 way to counter Tempo Rogue. Start cutting the pirates. He plays 1 Captain and 1 Swashbuckler, and Swashbuckler in general is really weak in aggro mirrors.
Yes, it's also weak against Jade Druid for the reason that's a 1/1 that sticks around for Plague.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty standard, straight.
But it can be the best. It can be the best card in the game if you believe in RNG.
Aggro Druid has Flappy Bird. That's important.
Whoa.
And the Demon Lock.
I've been
it's definitely Demon Lock with Beetle, by the way.
Oh, the Beetle too.
No, okay, no other one had Beetle.
Yeah, does that seem like a big deal to you guys? I mean,
I like Beetle.
I mean, Flappy Bird, I love Flappy Bird.
Well, Flappy Bird. Okay, Flappy Bird first. Let's talk about that because I've been surprised that Flappy Bird has just disappeared from the meta for so long.
Me too.
Like that card is literally an auto win. Like if it just sticks. I mean,
especially against Priest.
Yeah, and for a while it wasn't the events. It was totally in event meta, and then all of a sudden it just went away after like Frost. Or just the Frozen Throne came out. So I think what it
was is that people started to ban Priest, and they said if I ban Priest, why do I need Flappy Bird? I'd rather run anti-aggro cards, or I'd rather run like lower cost cards. So I think that's what it was. But now that people are banning Warlock, they're like, wow, we leave Priest up. Like I need this Flappy Bird to have a chance sometimes.
Okay, so talk about Flappy Bird versus something like just Bittertide, right? And that kind of Hydra approach. Which would you rather have? Like giant minion at 5 or something to throw out a little bit earlier and
against Priest, definitely the Flappy Bird. Because if they don't kill it, they lose the game. Or if you go coin Captain, then they pain it, and then you play Flappy Bird, then you know they have no answer for it, and then kind of win the game. Because he also plays the Scalebanes, right? So we expect Naria to leave Priest open. And I think against Priest, like Hydra just. It's kind of like late-ish in the game, right? You expect the Priest to have an answer for it most of the time. Hydra is good too, but Flappy Bird is like way early in the game.
Okay.
It's like...
I like it though.
It's a higher chance that he doesn't have an answer.
I hope we see it, man. I hope we get a chance to, like this is the only Flappy
for the
Bird
fans
in the entire event. So yeah,
I love it. The 1-ups for the fans,
dude. Forget the fans.
Plated
the 1-up
Beetle
to win the game.
That plated Beetle could have been a Gnome Fratu. Let's just point that out there.
I take Gnome Fratu any day over a plated Beetle. That's as boring as you get, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh when plated
for the fans.
Yeah, I'm gonna laugh when plated Beetle gets played on 2, and then your opponent top decks Raza, and be like, "Wow, we could have had a Gnome Fratu here." Versus Raza.
That's true. I don't know. Maybe you'll get a bunch of plated Beetles, and that health will be the difference.
That 6 health will be the difference.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next up we got Omega Zero. All right, so we've got Aggro Druid, Control Warlock, Highlander Priest, and Murloc Paladin. So no Tempo Rogue for him, but let's see, what did
Toys line up? Wait. He has Elise in the Control Warlock.
Control. This is like super greedy Control Warlock.
Ooze, so they're both playing Ooze. Like, why? Maybe it is something with the Chinese meta and like Tempo Mage being a big thing, but like they whipped on this because there's literally. Well, I mean, maybe it's for Murloc Paladin too.
For the fans.
For the fans. For the fans, a whiff for the fans, guys. That's not a for the fans type of card.
It could be for Murloc Paladin as well, though. Like, I don't want to neglect that. But are you really worried about their weapon in Murloc Paladin? Probably not.
I mean, he plays the whatchamacallit.
He plays pin-sized horror in Priest. I mean, if that isn't for Murloc Paladin, then for what is that?
Cold-Eyed Oracle and Priest as well. Oh my gosh, there's actually a lot of tech cards I didn't see at first.
Yeah, the Priest is like super different.
Yeah, is definitely
Cabal. He's gonna take a Void Lord.
Wait, where? Oh, Cabal Shadow Priest, dude. I've tried that so many times, dude. I've done it so many times, and it never works out for me.
I did it on ladder for a little bit, and I never got I got a Void Lord once, and then I said all the other times this card could have been something else, and I got Void Lord once.
Yep. That sounds about right. That's about my percentages too. So I gave up on that Cabal Shadow Priest idea a long time ago, but apparently it works for him. Omega Zero is a great player, so he's
going for anti-aggro. He's saying
so that's for the fans, Gaara. Okay, that's
for the fans. That's definitely for the fans.
The Cabal in Razakus Priest is 100% for the fans.
He can take one of those 10 Void Lords that Muzzy's going to throw out against him. So
yeah, that's what it was. He said, "Please give me Muzzy round 1 so I can take the one Void Lord who literally has nothing left."
Yeah, it's like, dude, which of these 7 should I take on the board?
He will take the cube that ate a Void Lord.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
that's
no,
true.
no. I got a perfect example. Here's what's gonna happen. He's gonna have 2 Void Lords on the board, conveniently both from his deck. Don't think too much into this. He's gonna conveniently have 2 Void Lords from his deck on the board that have not been cubed or died or anything. And he's gonna go Pint Size, and he's gonna Cabal 1, and then he's gonna Potion of Madness the other one, swing him in the face, and then he's gonna paint it. And he's gonna get rid of all the Void Lords from Muzzy's deck. And Muzzy's Nizal is gonna do nothing. And
I don't think Muzzy will ever play naked Void Lords on the board.
Muzzy will go double faceless,
yeah,
double faces on the Void Lords that were stolen, and then go double cube on the top.
Oh my god!
Yeah, but 400.
That's true. Actually, Muzzy can retake those back with faces.
Let's not talk about that. He doesn't have those in his hand.
All right, we're getting crazy. All right, let's get back on path here. All right, so Omega Zero's got some cool stuff to see.
He's definitely going for anti-aggro because look, he has Galaka Crawler in his so he's definitely going for a target rogue kind of thing.
Right. No, the rogues.
I will say I was testing a paladin like this. I was talking to Purple about it, and the original goal was we cut hydrologists and put in the Galakas, and then we played Stonehill Defenders, and the whole merit was we wanted to see whether it was better against the aggro mirror and priest. That instead of Divine Favor and you like the heavy engine, you run like the anti-pirate stuff, and you also run like the late game cards like Cobalt and Steed. And also off of Call to Arms, Galaka Crawler is better to pull than Hydrologist, just for the reason that's a 2/3 most of the time. So it was interesting. It didn't work out as well as we wanted it to. At least in my testing, it really didn't. But, I mean, maybe in Omega Zeros, he thought it was really good, so he brought something similar to that.
We got Finja back, too. It's going to be fun to see that. I love these Chinese decks sometimes. It's so different. All right, Orange with the Lone Hunter of the entire event. And actually, I think it's a super smart decision to bring Aggro Hunter. So we got Aggro Hunter, Control Warlock, Highlander Priest, and Tempo Rogue. So, obviously, the biggest thing is replacing Druid with Aggro Hunter. So yeah, talk to us about that matchup. Aggro Hunter, I believe matches up great against the aggro decks, right? Like in terms of aggro versus aggro.
I don't like the Hunter.
Really?
I really don't. Okay.
I thought the stats showed that it does do well against.
I think one of the reasons for Hunter being so good is that it's actually pretty good against Control Warlock and Priest, which are on ladder. So it's like an okay ladder deck, but like. I don't think this deck, even with Galaka Crawlers, is that good against Rogue. I don't think it's that good against Aggro Druid.
For sure.
And I don't think it's good against Murloc Paladin. I just don't think it's good against the other aggro decks. And that's my opinion. If you're bringing this to beat the other aggro decks, like you would have want to go for like Aggro Druid.
I thought
maybe he was also thinking, because he has the Spellbreaker in it, right? So he's leaving maybe Warlock up, right? Like, why else would you take a Spellbreaker? That's like what I'm thinking.
I feel like he has to leave Warlock up, right?
Yeah, he has like double Gnome Ferrato as well.
But he doesn't have Spellbreakers in the Rogue, so
Yeah, it's weird. It feels inconsistent, right? But if you think, what is the best aggro deck that can win against Warlock, and then bring a Hunter, right? Because then Hunter is probably way
Maybe,
better
but I
than
feel like
aggro.
you'd rather bring
Druid.
Paladin. I think Paladin's
I
better
think
than
so.
Warlock
Yeah.
than Rogue.
Oh, Paladin is Paladin. Paladin is also not that great versus.
Oh, none of them are great, but
Yeah. I'm trying to think like how you justify like Hunter over the other aggro decks. I mean, it's probably like fine, right? I mean, he did like when he was streaming, he was only playing Hunter every time, so maybe it's like super comfortable with the class or the other classes.
It could be just like you said, it
really
could be just a
fine-tuned.
Warlock counter. That's it. That's what it functions as, right? I mean,
yeah, if he beats Warlock with it, then it might be worth it because he can definitely beat Rogue, right, with double Golaka and the other decks.
yeah.
At the same time, he's also vulnerable against Golaka because he plays the pirates himself.
Yeah, I think Galakas are going to be a big, like whoever hits with the Galaka is going to be have a huge role in these matches at World Championships. There's just so many of them floating around.
It might actually be also a better deck versus Jade Druid, right? If you expect Jade Druid to be popular.
Than aggro Druid.
It's probably.
I don't know if it's better. I don't think it is.
So if I mean, let me just bring up at least the legend stats here.
Jade Druid has so much healing.
Yeah.
All right. So
I just don't know if it's better.
Okay, so we're looking at aggro. This is just a general aggro hunter, right? So we're talking about 62.5% against Q Lock and Demon Lock's like 55%. That's obviously what it's meant for. But against like Jade Druid, 45%. Or not Jade.
That's
Druid,
aggro Druid.
Aggro Druid, yeah.
Jade Druid, it's like 48.
48%. 48. That's not terrible.
So what is aggro Druid against Jade Druid? It's 47.
Yeah. So
So
pretty
it's like
close.
the same.
Super close. Yeah.
I think they're like very similar.
Yeah,
like,
they are very similar. Except this is just better against Warlock.
It's more like Hunter for defense, right? Because you expect it to be the only Hunter player, right? I mean, it makes it so much cooler if you win and you brought Hunter and the deck is like very similar in power level.
Yeah.
And then
against Warlock, they're having the reach, right? Because aggro Druid has no reach at all. And having that might be very nice for playstyle.
Ban priest. Maybe he does go for the ban priest strategy and say, "Hey, look,
let Warlock go."
Let Warlock go. I can beat it with this Hunter rather than bringing aggro or Druid. And if I don't, like, I was expecting to lose to it anyways.
Well, he has to avoid Rogue though. If he runs into Rogue, he's in trouble. Actually,
everyone's bringing Rogue though. Like,
it's kind of like you said, the fourth deck, right? The fourth deck can be like whatever. Could be like Paladin, can be aggro Druid, and he just went with the Hunter. It's like, you can see it.
Well, I can definitely see it working.
If you snipe a win against Warlock, that's insane for an aggro deck. That's like really
because then you have priest to play against the Warlock.
Yep.
And you also really the Warlocks. You expect the Warlocks to be super greedy, right? As well.
This is Orange's deck, guys. People asking. So, all right, yeah. I think his control Warlock's pretty greedy. Got Rand's got the double Stonehill. It's got the 2 Gnome Feratus and a Dirty Rat.
By the way, Chairman, you're a little bit Mr. Destructoid right now.
Oh, am I? Oh, sorry. Let me fix that. I shouldn't be.
And now we can't hear him.
Well, you hear me now? You guys hear me now?
That's bad, man.
We can't hear you.
No, you can't hear me? Oh, man.
Instead of fixing it, we can't hear you at all.
This is not good. I'm going to have to...
We can't hear you. Still.
Hold on. Got that, guys. Little technical difficulties.
I don't know what he did. He just doesn't want to. I'm sorry, everyone in the podcast. He just doesn't want to speak. He actually just left the building. No. Yeah, he's gone right now.
Oh my god!
This is next level trolling. What he's doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. I guess while we wait for his mic to come back, we can just talk about I still don't agree with this Hunter. I feel like the Hunter is just. I feel like there's so many better classes or decks that it could have been, and I'm trying to see what he wanted to do because if he wanted to leave up Warlock. Then I mean, maybe Hunter's fine, but wouldn't you play something else that also tries to beat Warlock? I mean,
I should be back now.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, you think? Okay, so anyways, you think that you know, maybe a different decision on the hunter was probably a better decision, or would have been better than that.
I mean, Orange is known for his hunter, so
Yeah.
I mean, people just playing stuff they're known for. So
I think, yeah, I can definitely see some cool OP stuff that Hunter can do, right?
Yeah.
Corridor Creeper is a beast. You can go like a 0-mana Corridor Creeper with Houndmaster on 4. It actually happened to me multiple times. That's kind of insane. Like Golaka is a beast, right? So you have the synergy. Razormaw is insane as well. If you hit if you hit the curve, right? If you go first as Hunter, Hunter is like
it's
better
crazy
than
strong.
when you go second. It's a huge difference. So I don't think it's super bad.
I like it. I personally,
I think it's
like
fine.
it,
I just wouldn't bring it.
but-
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
All right, let's go on to purple. So purple, aggro druid, control warlock, highlander priest, and tempo rogue. You know, normally from purple, man, like, you know, when I was like, okay, man, I can't wait to see purple's, you know, decks, because I always expect something just completely different. But I have to say, like, most of the things that he picked this time around, outside of maybe the you know, the counterfeit coin, and I mean, it's pretty much your standard type of decks for all three builds. So, yeah, that's
super standard,
This was another person that had an issue with like figuring out the fourth deck. I remember even the night before deck submissions, he messaged me. He's like, "I don't even know what my fourth deck's gonna be." I was like, "You got a couple hours, buddy."
Just the aggro druid basically being that fourth
Yeah,
deck?
the aggro druid was the fourth deck. It's got penguins in it. That's cute.
Oh, that's true. It does have penguins in it.
He said
for the fans.
He mentioned how cute they are.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah. It's got to be more than cute. It better be more than cute. But, you know, he's got 2 tar creepers and his rogue. Yeah, pretty standard. I mean,
I don't know. I actually never played with penguins. Do they give you like an extra advantage in aggro mirrors?
Yeah, because like you just vomit your whole hand out and you get another 2/2 along with your Market Lotus turn, so it's like fine.
Yeah. His control warlock has 1 faceless in it.
For defense. That's
He didn't want to go full muzzy.
Oranges had 1 faceless. Oranges had 1 faceless in it as well.
Okay.
I think it's mostly just for copying Void Lord, or I'm trying to think of what else you would copy, but yeah, there you go. Your opponent's Void Lord. Maybe you copy your opponent's Doomguard or Cube and then get their stuff. I don't know.
Well, actually, Rin, it's the battle cry. You need the battle cry, so yeah, it wouldn't.
Faceless is just like a solid card because you pull out the Void Lord and you just copy it the previous turn. Like, I'm sorry, the next turn.
Oh, you just faceless your opponent's stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a solid card.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like the warlocks are going to generate like, oh my god, plays like basically all.
If they get to see play, that's going to be the issue. I don't think they're going to get to see play.
Warlock Mirror is like the most cancerous matchup ever, right? Oh my god.
Raza Priest is worse. Raza Priest is so much worse.
Yeah.
I enjoy playing that matchup. I enjoy counting all the cards and seeing what he can do, like what kind of counterplays you can do.
It's fine, but like when your opponent has Raza and Anduin before turn 8 and you're like looking at your whole hand and you've drawn 10 more cards than your opponent, you're like, wow, I really could use Raza or Anduin right now.
Right. Oh, somebody said faceless, something that's been steeded by Paladin. Yeah, that would be a good one too. Definitely. All right, so we got Samuel Sow here.
He's been off the map for a while.
Everyone can pronounce it. Yeah, we've got even just like a different looking deck name, deck tracker here. We got Aggro Druid, Highlander Priest, Tempo Rogue, and Zoolock. Out of all things, Zoolock. All right. This is kind of where I wish the decks weren't like revealed, so that people could just surprise each other with like, it's not it's not control, it's not Q block, it's Zoolock, baby, and totally screw the other opponent. But yeah, what do you think about this type of lineup? It's very tempo aggro, and then you got the priest, right?
That's like what I expect from Ant to bring, like such a Zoo.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to playtesting of which of these aggro decks perform the best against other aggressive decks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, how good is this versus aggro priest or Murloc Paladin in the mirrors, right? It's like a Zoo without Kalisev, which is obviously better because you play more 2-drops. You have like one of the best
get those
2-drops in the
crawlers
game.
in there, man.
And the Golakas, and the buffs. The buffs are insane. Also versus control, I think the buffs are really good.
This lineup might be really good.
Yeah.
Like surprisingly, like Zoolock, he's obviously going for the ban Warlock sacrifice the priest matchup and then just beat every aggro deck that people play.
Yeah, the problem with Murloc Paladin is that it kind of sucks versus other aggressive decks.
Yes.
If the other aggressive decks are attacked.
But the Zoo, however, does not.
No, exactly.
The Zoo is good.
And it's still very good versus control, this Zoo deck, I think. So it kind of does what Murloc Paladin does, but it's better versus aggro decks.
Maybe it's just a solid lineup. Yeah. It's like a sleeper lineup, but maybe it's just solid. You never know.
It would feel like a very classic Chinese Asian type of lineup where it's just like very, very heavy on the Tempo Druid side of things. All right, we'll see what happens here. I just like the people that are bringing unique things. And speaking of unique things, we've got Simple Lol here with Control Mage, Control Warlock, Dragon Combo Priest, and
press F in the chat.
And Jade Druid. What'd you say?
Press F in the chat. Combo Priest and Big Mage. Whenever I see Big Mage, I'm like, please have some success with it.
Please have. I mean, it's a little different. This one has, the Dragon Collar in it, and it's got Medivh in it. I mean, it's.
This is more like Hot Meowth's list, except for Hot Meowth's list, you cut the Ice Blocks and the Arcanologist, and you run a second Acolyte of Pain, and there's like a couple other cards you run. I'm trying to think of what they are. I can't remember, but basically, like the big mage actually is good against aggro. And if you think the field's gonna be bringing aggro, that's fine. The only issue with like big mage on ladder is that like you're queuing into priests and warlock, which just, I mean, even warlock's like an okay matchup if you're running like the dirty rats and stuff, but priest is unwinnable. Like priest is legitimately an unwinnable matchup if it's Raza priest. So you would have to ban that every time, and I think that's what the strat is.
Yeah,
I would actually, it's interesting because you say it like that. I would say the reverse. I think Warlock is unwinnable because you need like 4 polymorphs at least to beat Warlock.
Oh no, Warlock! I was playing Warlock matchup last night, and it's super winnable. It's like you polymorph Void Lords. They never get anything back from N'Zoth or anything. Exactly. You do have to save a polymorph for Rin if you know they're playing Rin. And you can let one Void Lord live.
I think you
can. Honestly, you beat him in fatigue.
I think
that Q block's different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Because I'm only facing Q block feels absolutely unwinnable. Because if you polymorph the Void Lords, they just kill you with like 7 Doom Guards from the Google.
Yeah. Sure.
It's like, and if you polymorph the Doom Guards, they just do the same with Void Lords.
Q block's not a good matchup. It's the anti-aggro control Warlock. That's a really good matchup for you. Because it's hard to play, but you take him to fatigue and you beat him in fatigue most of the times.
But by the way, because 2 people brought Ice Block, what I find interesting is I think you need Ice Block only versus Razaku's Priest. And if you ban Priest, you don't have to play it. And if you play Dirty Rats in Warlock, I expect them to not ban Priest. So that's what kind of speaks for Ice Block. But yeah, if you go for a Priest man strategy, I would definitely play what Hot Meowth played. It felt like the best version.
Okay, so what is he going to ban, guys? Like, is he banning Priest or banning Warlock here? Priest, okay.
Actually,
I mean, Jade Druid's good against Priest.
Like, no, he has to ban Priest because he has Master Spell on this Dragon Combo Priest, so he can get through Void Lords.
No, but his Priest is good versus Priest. His Warlock is tagged versus Priest, and his Mage is tagged versus Priest, and his
that Mage never beats Priest though. That Mage legitimately never beats Priest. Maybe his priority ban is Q Block. And then he goes to Priest.
I think it's fine with double block and double arcane diffuser. I think it's fine matchup with Scar King Geist. I think Priest.
I don't think it's fine. I think with double block, it's like.
I would prefer if he had the 6-drop. If I would prefer if he had the 6-drop as well. Actually,
you just can't do anything to Priest. You can't pressure them. Like if they save Psychic Scream for Alana, you just lose.
I think he's a good.
But you have to Dirty Rat Raza or Anduin, and even you have to Dirty Rat Raza or Velen.
He'll be fine.
No, he won't. No, this deck is awful against Priest. I played so many matches with this deck against Priest.
I believe.
I believe this is definitely going to be one of the funnest lineups to watch, though. I can't wait to see. Yeah, it ends up what he ends up, obviously banning, what people end up banning on his lineup too. So, Drago Combo Priest. This is one deck that I feel like might be a little bit underrated. Like for a long time, I think it was Asmo, right? He was like rank 1 for the longest time with this deck, and a lot of the pros were saying this deck wasn't that good. So it's kind of interesting to see if it could be one of those cases where this deck is one of those where if you just learn every single nuance of this deck, then all of a sudden the win percentage is ridiculously higher than most people. I don't know how much he's played this deck or not, but I guess we'll get a chance to see. All right, Stan Udachi. I feel like I haven't said Stan's name in a long time, at least on the show. All right, we got Q Block, Highlander Priest, Jade Druid, and Tempo Rogue. More of the control type of lineup.
It's a really
again.
standard lineup.
Yeah, very, very standard lineup. It's got the double giants.
Bring the
and
best
faceless.
decks.
Yeah. Any kind of tech in here that we haven't seen? I don't think so, right? Like, it's all pretty standard.
Yeah, no, Karen. Actually, there is Karen in the Tempo Rogue.
Okay.
That's it. But that's like just
bone mare. Like
that's just
fodder,
for priest
kinda.
and bone mare fodder, and
Yeah.
it's good to get in the mirror. Like it's
All
an okay card.
All right, cool. Pretty standard. And then Surrender. Wait, we got a couple more here. Surrender's got aggro, druid, Q block, Highlander priest, and Tempo Rogue. So pretty standard again, but I think he's got some interesting. Let me see.
There's a direwolf in the aggro druid. There's a Karen in the Tempo Rogue. Other than that, I think that's about it. There's a Spellbreaker in the Q block, but I don't think that's too big.
No, that's pretty standard.
I think it's pretty
seen
standard.
that a lot. I've seen a lot of people do that too. Okay. All right, just good lineups. Basically just bringing good decks. Tom 60229, Q block, Highlander priest, Jade Druid, and Tempo Rogue. So Tom, I think his Tempo Rogue's got the Lich King.
He has Lich King. Yeah, that's about it.
That's a Lich King, and Arcane Tyrant, a couple Arcane Tyrants and Jade Druid. We've seen one or two of them in all of them. We're about to talk a little bit about that card in a second, but all right, yeah.
One ref for the fans.
What?
One ref for the fans.
One wrath for the fans.
It's like 16 druidless and one ref.
It's like throwback, man. Forget the lesser Jaspers. In case of being geisted, I need at least something to remove. Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, that's I think we spent a good amount of time on that, but we've never actually done a crazy thorough look at the deck lineup, so I figured that'd be kind of fun to do. But speaking of, I guess, the meta, kind of like one of the things I want to talk about is meta trends. I mean, I think one of the things that we've seen in the meta is just the rise of Jade Druid, and we've seen the rise of Jade Druid even in event meta, particularly. But you guys have seen it on the ladder recently too, right?
Yes, a lot of it.
What is it about it, man? Like, what's up with
The thing is, in the first 8 days or so, or 7 days of January, it was around 40% Razakus Priest on the ladder.
Yeah.
And there's only very few ways you can counter Razakus Priest. Like, some people are trying it with like aggro Murloc Paladin. But that's you go kind of like toe-to-toe with them. You're not really favored. It's kind of like 50-50.
Right.
But you don't really have any deck that is like super favored versus Razakus Priest. And if you take your deck super versus Razakus Priest, you kind of lose to everything else. And this new Jade Druid with armor is actually solidly favored, I would say, versus Razakus Priest. And that's like a huge change to what we had before.
Right. And those you wonder what we're looking at HS Replay, by the way. If you guys don't use it, go use it. hsreplay.net. It's a great site. Shows you all the stats and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's I feel like Jade Druid is so much more refined than even what it used to be. Like this variation of it is so streamlined. I feel like it's so good. And the Oaken Summons, I think, have been interesting. Arcane Tyrant, I have to say, is like, this is a card that not very many people have talked much about, whether it's these kind of podcasts and things like that. And it's a card I kind of wanted to bring up. And it's another card that it's just basically cheating mana, right? It's for 0. It's, you typically play it when you play a Nourish, or a lot of times it's with Infestation. Talk about this card. How important is it to get that kind of tempo in terms of playing Jade Druid?
It's really it stacks up, right? Because Druid ramps, that is already like gives them like a later tempo advantage. Mm-hmm. And then you have like the most broken card ever created in Hearthstone, which is Ultimate Infestation. And I actually thought about it recently. Do you think they will ever print a card that is stronger than Ultimate Infestation? I just can't imagine it.
Yeah, I think they will.
I think they will, dude.
I came from
yeah.
a card game where their philosophy was we printed a broken card. Whoops, let's print a more broken card to stabilize.
One up. Yep.
Yeah, one up
I can't-
strategy. I think they
can't
will.
imagine it. What kind of card do more?
The
than
only
this?
way we can go is up, Gaara. That's the only way.
exactly.
No, I thought about it because standard, right? Cards are rotating out. I just can't imagine.
We're gonna be looking like a year down the road at Ultimate Infestation and be like, wow, that card actually wasn't even that good.
What an average card. Wow.
As
This
a
is
one-off.
I wouldn't even play to my deck anymore.
oh my god.
Trash.
That will never happen.
Yeah.
I'm assured that will never happen.
But it really stacks up, right? You play like Ultimate Infestation on turn 5, on turn 6, and then you play like this additional 0 mana 4/4s. In 0 mana 4/4 is super mega powerful. Like on top of doing like it's crazy how strong it is when you play it like with Spreading Plague.
It's like good, but it's not that. I'd say it's like okay.
Yeah,
Like
it's like
it's good against aggro. Like if you can get
against aggro, maybe.
That's
Yeah.
already a
Other
bad
than
matchup,
aggro,
though,
it's
right? Like, it's already a pretty bad matchup, though, isn't it? Like,
depends on the aggro deck. Like Jade Druid actually is one of those decks that's like surprisingly good against everything except for I think Warlock.
Yeah.
Because Warlock started running Skulking Guys, so you no longer have any win condition against them.
right.
Yeah.
So other than Warlock, like most of the decks you're playing against are aggro or priest, and this deck actually is like decent against them. Like you have a lot of removal. A lot of the aggro decks cut Bone Mare. Like for instance, the new Murloc Paladin doesn't run Bone Mare, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. Bone Mare was like one of the reasons like it was pretty bad for you because you didn't really have a good way to deal with the Bone Mare. Rogue is still fine too because Rogue you just kind of armor up and you just kind of wait till you get big enough Jades. You just out Jade them and like you're fine. So this deck actually is like surprisingly strong, and it might be like one of the in a little bit once people like figure out about this deck more and more and they start playing it, it might become one of like the better decks on the ladder.
And every time I play this deck, I never draw my Spreading Plagues, man. Like I never. And it's like I'm playing Paladin after Paladin, and I'm just like, oh my god, I just need like one card and I win this game. Like every single time, and I just never draw. It feels bad, man. Yeah. So, anyways, this seems to be like building a lot. You know, just building up some steam on ladder, and it has a lot to do with just obviously these deck lists coming out and just the hurting of the Hearthstone player base. You know, whenever that happens. But yeah, Jade's never fallen out of relevance. That's for sure. This just really speaks to just how good that it's been this entire time. Okay, so anyways, you know, one thing we didn't do actually in terms of the I just forgot World Championship. We didn't even make predictions. So like, who do you think is gonna win out of all those decks that we saw?
Ant.
Oh,
no bias
that's
whatsoever.
Loyalty right there, baby. That's loyalty.
Ant's winning it all. Ant's becoming a world champion. I think it's just happening.
Man, that'd be amazing, man. What do you think, Gaara?
I jump on the bandwagon. Ant's gonna win.
You think Ant's gonna win? Okay.
I honestly,
you like the aggro?
I can see him winning, but I
mean,
think
you're just talking about like Ant. Just like we want to see like the nicest guy in Hearthstone, basically. That would be amazing. That would absolutely be amazing if it was. But do you, I mean, is it the lineup or what is it based on? Like,
I think Loki, probably Hoy or Surrender. Like,
okay,
there's something about Planet Odd, like they're winning. Their performance the last year,
yeah, they've been crazy.
Was insane. Of all of them,
yeah,
they won pretty much everything. So I can really see them. It's the only team that had where 2 players qualified, right, for the Worlds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, that's true.
Ever? Was it ever?
No, I don't think.
Oh, maybe like
no,
Strife and Colin, I think. One year.
We've had multiple team members, and I believe we've had multiple team members in the World Championships before.
Well, technically, we would have had like this year Frozen Muzzy if they were still on LG.
Yeah, LG. Right. Yeah, that could have been if it still existed. All right, I mean, my pick. I'm gonna pick. It's tough to say.
Oh, okay.
It's like my heart and Pearl are like my, obviously my heart picks, I guess you could say. But
It would be such a lovable
I actually
World
like
Champion.
I like the hunter, dude. I'm picking orange.
No.
I'm
not
telling
like
you,
this.
I actually like the hunter. So.
Boo.
All right.
Boo.
I could be crazy, totally crazy. But,
Champion is for the fans.
for the fans,
fans.
exactly. For the fans, absolutely. I gotta pick something different. I can't pick the same thing you guys pick.
No, you can pick Ant.
What kind of?
Honestly, in terms of lineups, I like the Cao. Was it Cao who brought
Samuel
the
Sao with
Samuel
the
Sao.
weird Sulak. I want to see how that
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
He fell off the map, and now he's back
Now he's back.
because he's obligated to be back.
Oh wow.
It's the same with Stan.
That's
Stan
huge.
Udachi quit Hearthstone for like a year.
Yeah, he totally.
He's
That's what I
he was a
mean.
nice guy. I met
haven't
him at Winter. He's a really nice guy.
I mean, he played for the country, and then it's just like he was gone, right? Pretty much. I mean,
He's
outside
like,
of
oh
that.
damn, I have to
Yeah.
come back. I have something to
Yeah,
do.
that means he's gonna win the whole thing, and he's gonna be like, he's gonna be the most uncelebrated champion because he's like kind of like, oh, I didn't even want to come.
Peace out.
Yeah, exactly. No. I think anybody's gonna be happy to win that much money, like at the World Championships. But, okay, well, anyways, want to make a quick shout out to just all the folks that support the show. If you didn't know, you can support the show with the Patreon that we have for ValueTown, patreon.com/ValueTown. We made some changes, kind of made that announcement with a lot of changes where Jackie and Ali aren't going to, be our permanent hosts anymore. But, I hope it doesn't affect, just everybody that supports the show because, we still need your support to keep doing the show. And the Patreon is the main source of support that we have. So if you enjoy the show at all, if you got like $1 or $2, whatever, like, you can just go to the site and you can submit, whatever it is per episode, even like a quarter, 50 cents, $1, whatever, that helps out with us, in continuing to do the show. So give a shout out just a few of the patrons. I want to give a shout out to Mike T for being our legendary producer. He's been like one of our main guys for a long time now. And it's amazing. And then a lot of these guys too, Davin P, Gary D, Bryce L, Dan S, Danny H, Code Chemist, who won was one of the winners of the giveaway that we did over the holidays. So congrats to him. Howard P, Farron F, Sasha G, Jeff B, Eric F, and Brendan T. Just to name a few. There's obviously a lot more others, and we try to get to some each and every week. But thank you so much, guys. Really, really appreciate that. All right, so deck of the week. I decided that it might be fun to do the John Bray's deck. The have you guys did it? The Unstabled Eruption deck. Have you ever seen that one? The one with the it's a shaman deck first off, so I don't know if you guys have played the shaman deck, but it's got like the Snow Furies and the Arcane Giants and what else?
Oh, I think I saw what you were talking about. I think I've
I need to
seen
find
that.
it. I need to actually put it up here. So I didn't actually prepare it before.
You know another deck that would have been good to feature?
Okay,
Have
we
you
could
seen
do
a
that too.
bars? Have you seen a bars deck?
A bars? No, which one?
It's called. Oh my god, let me find it on Twitter. I have to figure. I have to do a bar justice because this deck is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, well,
It's called.
let's take a look at that one too.
Turbo Weasel. Turbo Weasel.
All right, you need to link me this, like Turbo Weasel. That is.
Yes.
See, one thing I wish that we would do as a community, and this goes to all of you guys too, all the players and whatnot. Name your decks, please. Like, come up with like just memorable names and not just like Control Warlock, and stuff like that. Because one of the hardest things about kind of looking back in history of Hearthstone, which I do from time to time in terms of like Streamer Showdown, and we have this like deck segment, is that it's hard to like reference decks because they just have categorizations. They don't actually have real decks. Like Sunshine Hunter, right? We have a few of them in the history of Hearthstone. And it's like we should totally be naming them, and then obviously giving accrediting the people that actually made it too. So I wish we would be better about that because that would be just much more. It would be much easier to identify decks, in history. All right, where is this deck that you're talking about?
I sent you on Skype.
All right, let's see this. Okay, so this is a bars deck. Oh my god, what is this?
Exactly.
Oh wow. Okay, so let me bring up. Oh man. Okay, let's see. All right, let's take a look at this.
You won
we
a
got
game
Weasel.
on Legend Ladder with it.
He what?
He won a game on Legend Ladder with it.
He won a game? Come on, man.
Oh, actually, I don't know how many games he won. I just know this deck is like one of the greatest things to ever come to Hearthstone.
I mean, I can also link a cool deck. Someone linked to me today on stream and asked me about my opinion.
Our users would hate this deck. This deck is so hard to play.
I linked you just like a cool. I linked you Killer Priest.
Okay, Killer Priest. All right, where is it?
Killer Priest.
This one, like the whole strategy of this deck is you just shuffle constant. Oh God, what is this?
Just first, you're like. Just think about it. First, you're like dance game, and then you're like, aha. It's like I don't know how to feel, man.
Wait. Are we supposed to get like a ton of leper gnomes or something in this?
You're just gonna kill your opponent, dude.
Yeah, you get a bunch of leper gnomes, and then you kill off the leper gnomes, and you
get them back all the time.
Okay. Oh man. All right. It's either that or it's not this one. Where's John Ray's deck?
Weasel Turbo.
Or this one, or it's this deck.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically mana cheat with Guild Recruiter, mana cheat with Snow Fairy Giant,
I've
mana cheat with Arcane Giant. It's actually pretty good. I've played it on ladder and done pretty well with it. So let's just stick with this one. We'll just because that was the original plan. We're gonna go with this one, and then we'll try to feature one of the other ones in the coming weeks. But I'll post that, guys, on the Patreon. And those of you that maybe just watching for the first time, deck of the week is where we kind of pick a deck. We have everybody play it. And then on Mondays, I usually do a really short, kind of 15-minute, 20-minute type of show with our patrons as our guests, just talking about just win rates and just our experience with it, with some cool, plays and things like that. And then I post it up on SoundCloud. So if you guys want to partake in it, everybody can play. Just send me what your win rate was, and it'll definitely go into our data in terms of how, just all the Value Town, just community played, or how we did with it. And we just do that every week. You can find that on the patreon.com/valuetown again. But do we have a question here? Actually, we did have a question from Daggered, which I was meaning to ask when we were talking about all these things. But he's asking, like, why is there so many like aggro druids and Jade druids? Or why are they so popular in events when it doesn't seem like they perform well in the ladder at all?
The reason they're so popular at events, but they don't perform well on ladder, is, for instance, like aggro druid is really bad against priest and warlock, but aggro druid put into a vacuum is really good against a lot of the decks that will be the third and fourth deck. For instance, it's really good against rogue, it's really good against murloc paladin, and it's really good against like any off-brand aggro deck that might be brought. For instance, like a like the face hunter or the aggro hunter, whatever you want to call it. It's good against that deck as well. And it's also decent against, it can just sometimes have hands that just win you the game. And Jade Druid is another one of those where it's not good against Warlock, but it's really good against Priest. And if you feel as if you ban the Warlock with your aggro decks and you want to leave up Priest, maybe having a good deck against Priest is good.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, and it's again, like he said, it's just a different environment, not when anything is possible. So that's why, again, the disclaimer of being careful about what you play when you see all of these different types of event decks being posted. You're not going to necessarily get those results that you might be hoping for. Let's see, is there any other? Let me see if there are any other questions this week, because I just logged out of my email, unfortunately. Let me try to bring that up. In the meantime, any other decks you've seen that's been like, oh my god, that's crazy, I can't believe that's actually, I ran into this on the legend ladder. Anything?
For me, it's mainly the Savage quest rogue. The mill quest rogue, actually.
Oh yeah, I've seen a bunch of quest rogues actually. I played against like 3 of them last night.
Oh my god, I faced that, like it plays.
Does it have gibber in it? Does it have gibber in it?
And mill. Gibber?
Yeah, does it have feral gibber in
no,
it?
No, at least the one I played didn't have it.
Okay, alright, shoot.
That deck is absolutely impossible to beat with control lock. Like it plays mill, and it plays the quest. It's
good, isn't it? Or not, I guess.
It auto loses to aggro.
Oh god, that's true.
It
does auto lose to aggro. Okay, we have a question that's from a while back, but Ahmed, who's just one of our regulars, do you think that making a Lunith draw 4 makes the card weaker or stronger, as it will mill you faster? At what breaking point will it be drawing too much? So a Luneth, guys, is the mage weapon where you draw 3 cards at the end of your turn, like every single, as long as you have it equipped. And a lot of times what happens is you do run out of cards and, you get into fatigue. So that's a good question. Because at first it's just like, oh, Luneth is an awesome card. You're going to draw 3 cards forever. And then it's like, oh, wait, there's actually a drawback to it.
That's a weird question. I think 4 is like better than 3. But the question is 5 better than 4?
Right.
In hindsight, yes, you want to draw more, but there is that point of you want to make sure you can dump your hand out. Mm-hmm. So 4 might be a slight nerf for the reason that I think 3 is enough, but I can't say off the top of my head. That's like a really hard question to ask without doing a bunch of complicated math that I can't do.
I think it becomes then like very polarized high rolling card that when you draw it, you just win the game because you build your entire deck around it, right? To make your deck super cheap.
Yeah.
Even if you draw 4 or 5 cards, you can still dump your hand. But then it really comes down to just drawing the card, right? It's similar to Prince Kalasev. You build your entire deck around it, you draw the Kalasev on 2, your deck is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And if you don't draw it, your deck is significantly weaker. And it will be, I mean, it is already kind of like this right now with drawing 3 cards. But if you would draw more cards, it would be even more polarized. Like draw Alunev, it's like, how do you beat it? Like even if they ooze it afterwards, you already drew 5 cards.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised we don't see it that often then right now. I mean, we were seeing a little bit, I think, maybe a few weeks or a month ago or so, but.
Oh, nobody brought Secret Mage, right?
Yeah,
nobody brought Secret Mage. I think the reason for that is because they knew Aggro Druid and Rogue would be popular, and those matchups are awful, and you have to like ban Priest or Warlock. So like, you don't want to bring that deck and ban like what might be like one of your better matchups.
Yeah.
So it's just like weak overall because Priest figured out how to play against it. Warlock is actually okay against it, like it's fine, especially with all the healing they've added. And then it's bad against all the aggro decks, so it's like not in a good spot anymore.
Right. Okay. Well, anyways, guys, thanks for the questions. I really, if you guys have questions for future weeks or next week, go ahead and email those to valuetown@chanmanv.tv. And we'll definitely try to read them out. And if you guys have even just things like Mechator, we're still going to be doing Mechatorix. We're show those custom cards. Just keep them coming. We'll eventually get to some of them. But I think that's going to be it, guys, for the show. It was like, pretty much a World Champions preview. Next week, I don't know if we'll have a show or not because I'm going to be in Amsterdam. So I don't know. Maybe we can do something short over there. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is. So I'll try to get something out. But if I don't, because of that, that's the reason. So we'll try to do something special to make up for it the following week if that's the case. But Gaara, Dr. J, thanks for jumping on again. It was great having you guys as always with the insight and getting a chance to look at, again, these lineups and really analyzing them. Got any shout outs you want to do, Dr. J? Start with you.
Shout outs to Space Station Gaming. They're a really good team. I really appreciate working with those guys. They're great. Go follow them on their Twitter. You can follow me at DrJikininki. It's like down right below me if I point properly.
There you go, right there.
And then shout outs to Ant for gonna win Worlds next weekend. So shout outs to him for the pre-shout out. Go Ant. I want the cheers. I want everyone supporting. So and thank you, Chan, for having me on the show. Obviously, I really appreciate it.
Of course. Gaara, how about you?
I only want to shout out to the people that are watching and the people that come from my stream that watch me every day. Like a really big shout out to you guys. I love you. And shout out to Ant. It's going to win Worlds next weekend.
Yeah.
Go Ant.
Wow, love it. That's camaraderie here. This is great. All right. Well, any others or?
No, not.
Okay, cool.
I'm good.
All right, I will give a shout out, obviously, to you guys for doing the show with me this week and everybody that's watching and listening, as always, and supporting the show. I am doing a streamer showdown, which leads into the Geico PAX South tournament, which Dr. J is going to be competing into. And let me let you guys know this. It's going to be in the morning because we're leading into the final day of the event. So, Dr. J being in the finals, of course, he's going to be, we're going to be, basically, being the start of that. So it's going to be 10 a.m. Central Time, so 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. Eastern. And then we're going to have Noxious back hosting, Ali, Toast, Trump. See if anybody can beat Toast in Streamer Showdown. It's yet to be proven. So we're going to be debuting a new segment too, which is Spot the Error. So I know a lot of you guys like those type of things on Reddit, so we're going to incorporate it into Streamer Showdown too, where, you know, there's some kind of error in one of the cards. You got to find which one it is and all that good stuff. So tune into that. That's going to be on the Geico Gaming Twitch channel. And yeah, have some fun with us just an hour before the event. And then lastly, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You know, you can find the VODs on youtube.com/ChanManV. As always, I'll have the audios up on iTunes and Google, just all the Google Android podcast players, and as well as SoundCloud too. So you can find all that stuff. You know, you can find details on ChanManV.tv. Support the show, patreon.com/ValueTown. And that's going to be it, guys. So for Dr. J, Gaara, and myself, ChanManV, we will see you hopefully next week, but if not, we'll see you in 2 weeks.